Hey, I'm Nick Filardi. I co-host with Jason Thielbar on the world's second finest podcast. Every week we talk about 90s Bat books, but we also talk comics, movies, books, TV, both new and old, that we love. What you're about to listen to is an unedited version of that conversation. This is the To Read Pile. But Jason, what are you bringing to the To Read Pile today?
I am bringing a book that you bought for me, actually. The first two volumes of this showed up out of nowhere, and I got into it, and holy shit, I was like texting you how much I loved it. It's Hobtown Mystery Stories, Volume
Fuck
1,
yes.
The Case of the
Fuck
Missing
yes.
Men. This is such a good book by Chris Burton and Alexander Forbes. Oh my fucking god.
I knew you
Like,
were
this
gonna love it.
book
I knew you were gonna love
blew
it
me
as
away.
soon as I was like, I got it, and I was like, "Hey, have you read this?" And you were like, "No," and I was like, "I'm just gonna send it to you. You need to read this thing. You're gonna be a total sucker for this book."
I hadn't even freaking heard of it.
Yeah,
I hadn't even
yeah.
heard of it till you brought it up to me.
So I heard about it because somebody in my Discord, I think this guy Hoquin was saying that
Well,
he
thank you.
was he was like, I saw this in the previews or whatever, and it looked cool, so I ordered it. And then because he was reading Friday as well, so he was like, teen
Oh, nice.
mystery, like let's check it out. So he was like, this looks great, and then I picked it up on his recommendation, and then I was like, holy shit, like this book is, I we'll talk about it in a second, but it's probably in my top 10 favorites of all time. Like it's just so fully realized and perfect. But get into what the book is about.
So, the book is about a the book is about a detective club of high school students in Hobtown, which is in Nova Scotia, which is just a backwoods, weird ass place, very
Yep.
Twin Peaks, like
Yep.
just dropped right in there. Like in media res, we already have kid detectives, and the case of the missing men begins with the first missing man being abducted by some just straight creepy, like before anything happens, you just see a crime with some creepy ass masks, and
Yep.
it is just right out the gate weird as shit, and I love
Yeah.
it. And it essentially, the story revolves around the new kid, new character whose father is one of the missing men, and it gets crazier from there as the teen detectives start to
There's
investigate this
there's a panel.
strange goings on.
So when the mystery club meets, they like recap all the evidence they find at a couple of different points in the book. And
Yeah.
one of the kids said, which I thought was so perfect for this book, where they were like, first we saw a weird dude, and then we saw an even weirder dude. And I feel like that is this book.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. But you're completely right. Like, I was thinking about it today too, just in thinking about it for the show and everything, but, like, man, fully realized characters is just yeah, I was thinking about how every character is so just as their voice, like them. I love how, forgive me because I'm terrible with names, but I love
Sure.
how, the head of the teen detectives, Dana? Is it Dana? Is she
Dana.
the
Dana, yes.
Dana? I love how her and her dad both have this just sort of, for the most part throughout the book, a mostly expressionless face. Like they're
Yes.
just like they're smarter than everyone. They're more
They
together. They know what's
speak
going
with
on.
authority.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and carry and the way the way bodily too. They both carry themselves so proper and upright, and so you know she's rich, like really well to do. You
Mhm.
know, and yeah, and and her
And then
friend who's sort
they're contrasted with like Pauline, who's
yeah,
uh the other girl in the detective club, who's like a little looser, a little more excitable, like a little more
yeah,
fun. And then they start to get into, she has like visions.
yeah,
And and Dana, who's like, rigid and speaks with authority, doesn't necessarily even trust that Pauline like has these visions and that they are worth even talking about. You know what I mean? Like there's a moment where they're the both of them are ditching school and they're like in a tailspin over this mystery. And like the stakes are high in this book. And they go to this lighthouse and they're like, Pauline's like, come on, we stopped at this lighthouse for a reason. And she's like, we just stopped here to talk. It's any random place. And she's like, no, everything happens for a reason. Like, we got to go up to the lighthouse. And they do that and they kind of like follow this thread that helps them in like a
Yeah.
weird way of like where Pauline's kind of like in tune to like the collective subconscious kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and her character is so fun too because again, she's it's showing her with her family and how she lives so much more differently. She has an aging grandmother because she's
Right.
I think her grandmother is supposed to be Quebecois or Quebec. God damn, I don't know how. Someone from Quebec, so
Native
like French.
peoples.
So well, not native, but French Canadian
Yeah.
because
There are native peoples in this book though.
there. Yes, yeah. The
The
brothers
sheriff
are.
is native.
Yeah, the
Yeah, and the
sheriff and the
brothers.
brothers are yeah, yeah, there are native people in this book too. I don't know if she's supposed to be native or not. I'm not sure.
I don't think so.
But
I think I misspoke.
oh, yeah. But yeah, when they're there's that great panel when they're walking up to the lighthouse and she has because they find I don't wanna give too much or which is but,
Well,
like,
let's talk about it because I'm bringing the
she's, like,
same books.
creeping
So
up,
let's talk about it without spoilers for a
Yeah,
while, and then
yeah.
we'll talk spoilers at a certain point. So for right now,
Alright.
we're spoiler free. But yeah.
Okay, okay.
But yeah,
But
she's creeping up the
yeah.
lighthouse and she's like, "I'm a missing man." She's like joking around, like
Yeah,
and
and just yeah.
yeah, it just it shows how like goofy she is and how go with the flow, but it also shows her being like, "I'm gonna put my like consciousness, my body, like my mentality into this case. I'm gonna like think. I'm gonna go outside myself to think about this case." Like I know it's
Yeah.
just joking around, but it's a leap that like Paul or Dana is like too rigid to make, kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, and I think at one point I did text you when I was reading this that this is, like, just world class cartooning. Like, just
Yeah,
my god, like, not
yeah,
some you wanna talk about some backgrounds, holy shit, but also
yeah.
just but the characters and the movement and just the way
So
the
talk to
the
me about the
the
other
way
characters who are in the mystery club.
so we have, you know what? I should give the characters at least a little bit of respect and try to
Check out the
find
names.
find their names because we have there's at the beginning there's 4 teens in the mystery club and we have
Right.
Dana, we have um
Pauline,
Pauline, which I
and then the
should remember that was
brothers
my
who
grandmother's name.
the brothers kind of like meld into the same character because they're usually grouped together. They're very rarely apart. Um,
Yeah, but the blonde hair brother though is more he seems to be a bit more of like the serious responsible one and
yeah,
then
yeah, yeah, yeah.
the other ones is just he's the one and then we saw an even weirder guy. Like
Yeah,
at,
yeah.
he's supposed to be the more like not serious uh not serious one. But yeah, but that's how we begin is we begin with the first missing man meeting our teens who are just 4 but about to become 5
Yep.
because come literally on a motorcycle into town. Well, he's walking into town in the first scene because his bike is broken, you know.
Yes, his bike is
But
broken.
but we meet this mysterious boy who is just, oh my god, very, very serious and is apparently just in a lot of trouble. That's all we see him
He's in a lot
walking
of
in the
trouble.
rain.
He's a genius.
Yep.
His name is Sam. He he's the son of the first missing man, and they're like filthy rich. He is corresponding with MIT for his doctorate, I think, at some point. And
Yeah,
so
he's already graduated high
he's already
school.
graduated, but they put him in school he's there with extended family because his dad went missing, and he's just like hating life, and he wants to solve this like mystery of like his dad went missing, and he's like, this is not normal, even though we do these like spectacular things, and like we're both geniuses, like this is not normal. So he gets looped in with the detectives, the teen detectives.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, I was looking. I got caught in reading the comic. I was like trying to find something, and then I just like stop, and I'm like, oh
You're like,
yeah,
oh,
this really
I'm getting pulled in.
yeah, yeah, like legit. Yeah, no, this is a this is a phenomenal book. I'm probably
So one of the
gonna get
couple of
more.
things that make this book really interesting and comparative to Twin Peaks is like, so Twin Peaks has this murder that happens in the small town, and like the adults are trying to figure it out. Kyle MacLachlan comes to town as Agent Cooper, and he's like, I'm here from the FBI. I'm going to solve this murder. It's like the adults are talking, but the teen stuff in Twin Peaks is treated with just as much weight and just as much danger as all the adult stuff. And that is something that happens in here too. Like the teens have just as much agency, if not more, over the entire story as the adults do, which I thought was
Yeah,
like a nice little parallel. And the other thing is that the way that the dialogue is written, and this goes to fully formed characters, is that sometimes characters will respond to each other very weirdly, but you can kind of tell that one character is like trying to address something and the other character is thinking about something else. And so they're responding about something they're thinking about. And it creates this kind of like disjointed, ethereal thing sometimes that like Twin Peaks really like plays off of. Like I'm thinking of the moment in the first episode of Twin Peaks where uh, Dale Cooper and Harry Truman go to the the people who own the sawmill, the Packard plant, and they're about to sip their coffee that was poured for them in this house, and he's like, fellas, don't touch the coffee, there's a fish in the percolator. And it's just like weird, like strange segue from this very serious conversation, and this book is very similar to that. It's like
oh yeah,
just like people are saying things that like you half understand, and then once you get to the end you're like, oh, now I know what they were talking about in the first 20 pages of this book, you know.
yeah, yeah. They do such a great job of establishing like what a strange town it is and how much people have just accepted the strangeness. And
Mm,
then like you said though, like once you get to the end of the book, it seems to be a few of the people that you thought were just kind of like town crazies, like actually knew exactly what was going on,
right.
but weren't saying it explicitly. But they were just like, yeah, this happened in the 70s too. It'll
Yep.
happen again. You
Yeah,
know, like
yeah, this is business as
just
usual for the town.
yeah, for this small like town of like what? It's supposed to be a population of like 3,000 people in Nova Scotia. Like it's
2000,
supposed to be like
2000.
2,000. Yeah, it's supposed to be like Hicksville, Canada, you know.
Yeah,
It's not but it's just automatically this like yeah, just this entire weird little world all on its own that like just like bends any kind of reality, you know,
right.
like because again, same thing with like Twin Peaks. It's that like, you know, oh, the cops are here. We're safe. No, you're not.
No, you're
No.
not. Cops might be in on it. They might
Yeah.
they might be onto something that you're onto something else, and you can't like interfere with them.
Yeah.
But like they're
Or
gonna interfere with you. And then
yeah.
also a parallel with Twin Peaks, like the Bookhouse Boys is like this secret society of like the men in town, and they have that same thing. They have the Propeller Club
Yep.
in town, which like the Sam and his father who went missing were funding in an effort to like build a factory that never actually happened. So they were trying to like do charitable work through the town, and then you come to realize that like this isn't just like a casual charity kind of thing. There's like more than meets the eye. There's something going on behind the scenes, and it's like rooted in this weird secret society in the town. And these teens try to like figure that out. They try to like piece it out together. And
Yeah.
it's one of those things that like the book turns in such a odd way that you will never see it coming. Like you cannot predict the end of this book. But like watching the teens go through the entire book is so like captivating because again, they're fully realized characters. They all have their own personalities. They all have like you want to see them just interact. And then not only that, but like there's a bit where like some action goes down and instead of showing the characters doing all these actions, it's like a reporter trying to put together a newscast and he's interviewing all these people around town and all these people around town are fucking weirdos and like the first person he interviews is this like 10-year-old who's like standing on a garbage can
Yeah, he
with
was
like an
talking about
ice
where
cream. Yeah,
yeah, and he's like, "Oh, I was at that place because that's where they have the pop. They have pop
yeah,
there, and
yeah.
from that machine, they have a pop machine there."
Yeah, and then, he interviews, like, these couple that's, like, out on the lawn, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, I saw those 2 run by, and, you could tell that they were really in love," you know, like, stuff like that. It's just, like, these there's a guy in a helmet through the issue too that, like, Dick
Yeah!
detention at some point, and the dude in the helmet's there, and then, like, at the Founder's Day parade, the dude in the helmet's there. It's like, it's so stupid good. It's so stupid good.
I w
Oh, man.
th this has nothing to do with any with the book or anything else, it just made me think of it, but, like, there's, the band, Islands. I don't know if you ever listened to Islands. It was, the guy
No.
from, Unicorns. It was this thing after that. They were really good. But anyway, I saw Islands once, right? And, at the Middle East, and before he came on, the singer walks out on stage, and they all dressed in the same, like, white jumpsuits for this show, and he's in this white
Mhm.
suit, and this just, like, chrome silver motorcycle helmet over his head, visor down. It just walks out to the middle of the stage and just stands there, and everyone's cheering and going ape shit and waiting for the rest of the band to join him, and he just stands there for a solid, like, 2 minutes and then just leaves, and then the band came out, like, 10 minutes later to, like, actually start the song. He just wanted to do some weird shit, you know? And I'm
Excellent.
like,
Excellent.
yeah, this just made me think of that. But yeah, no, you're right. It is really like, and it's all those little things I think too that really reward rereading it, which I'm gonna read the second volume after I get through some other things pretty soon. But I look forward
Yeah.
to rereading them while I order more. I haven't even looked up how many
So,
volumes
there's
there are
only
out.
2 right now. There's only
Oh,
2
okay.
Hoptown Mysteries. There's a 3rd that's coming, but they struck a deal with Oni, and then Oni kind of collapsed. So I don't know if they're gonna go somewhere else for the 3rd, but they've put
Yeah.
out some art on social media stuff. So, like, they're
Oh
working
man.
on it. And
So man,
these are 2
I'm gonna
people
oof.
who have been making comics together for since they were kids.
Oh,
So,
no
like
shit.
yeah, yeah, if you read the
That
little
makes so
bit in
much
the
more
back
sense. That makes so much
yeah,
more sense then.
they're like childhood friends who have been making comics for, like, a long, long time
Yeah,
together.
these are
Um
probably, like, kernels of, like, stories they've been writing since they were, like, 14 or something that they've
Right,
just, like, written over
right.
so many times that they've, like, "Oh, shit." That makes a lot of
And I just
sense. I mean, great fucking work.
before we start talking spoilers, I also just wanted to really underscore what you were saying about, like, God tier cartooning because
Yeah,
it's not it's not, like, the tightest anatomy that you will ever see. It's not like, you know, upper we're not talking about Lee Weeks. Like, Lee Weeks
yeah,
is an amazing cartoonist himself. Like, he's an excellent draftsman, but he is more craft than anything else. And the expressions of the characters and the way they communicate their lines and how they feel in the moment is so genuine and it's so kind of perfect. Like
yeah.
it puts you the way that it's drawn puts you in the world and puts you in the vibe so quick and draws you in so fast and then keeps you there because these characters are so expressive.
Yeah, yeah, it's what I love about, and I'm just assuming they're Canadian because this takes place in Nova Scotia.
They are Canadian. I think they got some sort of grant for the arts to make this book.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
because
what it
they, because
seems like. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, because they do that in other places. Um,
Yeah.
but, uh, it the art reminds me the how much this cartooning grabs me reminds me of what very first grabbed me about Kate Beaton, like, and when I
Yeah.
first started
Very
reading
similar.
Hark a Vagrant when she was just posting stuff online way back. Um,
Mhm.
and also though, it just in carrying that thread, like, it just makes me think of, like, why, like, Dan Klaus is such a legend,
Yeah.
because also, like, yeah, the craft through the roof, like, with Dan Klaus, but, like, there's just immediate that distinctive, uh, style and expression there,
Yep.
and not like you can't find it in, uh, superhero books, but to be fair to anybody who's, like Lee Weeks, like, superhero books don't really call for this kind of art. Like, while it would be
No.
interesting to see for one issue, it's not like something you'd want to carry a series with for like years, you
Right.
know.
Right.
Um, but yeah, but there is just something so special about as one of the pages that distracted me actually when I when I was looking down before was I love how much like a line, does so much work and how hard a line on a face can be to get right, because
Yeah.
it's just a
Yeah.
little like dash and like people think that like I don't know, like people think it's so easy to get that, to get in like, and it's just like and you go like no, no, and then just like multiply that by like a million until you
Yeah.
find just the right spot that's going to make just the right sense, you know? And
Mhm.
obviously, like, if,
Mhm.
someone working on it, that's not your thought process while you're doing it, but still,
Sure.
there's
Sure.
there's just something special about it.
Absolutely. There's one of the when I was reading this, I was taking pictures and dropping it in my Discord, and actually, coincidentally, Hulk Hogan, who recommended it to me, was rereading it at the same time that we were reading it. So he was like, "Holy shit, dude!" He's like, I'm like 20 pages ahead of you right now." uh, because I was like, I was dropping some stuff into my Discord. You should join the Discord. Uh,
Oh, yeah, shit.
and uh, there's like this one near the end where like the last 40 pages of the book, you know, everything's climaxing. They're getting to like finding the missing men. They figured out the mystery and they're it's about like delivering the repercussions of this mystery.
Yeah.
And it's like moving at a brisk pace and they stop. They like and this is indicative of the book is like the sheriff, um, Sam, and then Dylan, his dad's right hand man who runs the company, who's Indian from India.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
he's which is like kind of Johnny Quest ish a little bit, which is like kind of
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah,
So
they're
it's a
getting
little
a bit,
Nancy Drew, a little
yeah, a
Johnny
little bit
Quest,
yeah, a
a
little
little
bit of adventure book in there. Yeah,
yeah, a little,
yeah,
and then like a little Twin Peaks. So
yeah.
they're out there and they're like, okay, they're like, come on, and then there's just a guy that we never even see again, sipping a propeller mug, hiding behind a car behind them. And he's like ducked down and he like comes up and he's like, what does he say? Uh, all of you guys are finished. And then it's just a shot of them just being like,
What?
what? And then him like sipping the mug and slowly slinking back down under the car.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's like you took like half a page during your climax to do this like fucking weird joke, and it's just it works so well. The whole book is like that.
Oh, yeah, when in doubt, go weirder, okay?
Yeah,
That
yeah.
that's all it's all you
Speak
should really
okay,
do.
speaking of when in doubt, go weirder, I'm dying to talk spoilers with you. So,
Alright, alright.
let's talk some spoilers. If you haven't picked this book up, The Case of the Missing Men, if you haven't picked it up, pick it up. It's excellent. It's in my, like, top 10 books. It's a to-read,
Yeah.
must-read, I feel like.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be a to-read, reread for me pretty soon.
Yeah, I've read it twice now. My copy the spine is very worn. It's starting to, like, soften around the corners, like, yeah, I love
Already.
this thing. Yeah, it's very well loved. Um, Jason, let's talk spoilers.
Right.
What'd you think of the parade scene?
I wasn't sure if it was supposed to be a dream. I was just so unsure of where that plot line was gonna go because I didn't know if it was like some sort of like poison because I wasn't quite sure if in this world we've established like that things are actually like supernatural or not or whatever. So I just thought I thought there would be some sort of like, oh, he was dosed or something like that.
Right.
You know what I
The
mean?
the thing is, they play it straight for so long in this
Yeah.
book, where you're like, "Oh, it's like a weird town, but, like, these are people."
Yeah.
It's not too weird. It's not never
Yeah, we
supernatural.
yeah, we got a bunch of weirdos in New London. I got some stories for you. You
Yeah,
wanna talk about
but
weird small towns?
they're never supernatural stories, Jason.
D Yeah, yeah.
And then it takes a turn.
Mhm.
I lost my shit, and it's like
Did you really?
it's yeah, when I first read it, I was like, so the parade's coming down. For anyone who hasn't read it, you should read it and stop listening to this. But for everyone who has read it, just to jog your memory, um, the parade is like Founders Day parade, and people are lined up, and they're uh, parading down the street. And one of these kids who witnessed the murder of a lunch lady is one of the brothers, and the other brother has not witnessed a murder, and he sees this little guy just doing finger guns down the
Yeah.
parade route,
Just
and
this
he's like
weird,
just this weird,
fleshy.
fleshy, hairy little guy, no clothes, but he's like has a suggestion of pants, but it's all flesh. It's
Yeah,
like
and no
it's so
genitals
no
either.
genitals, but he's got
Yeah,
nipples. It's so fucking strange, and
yeah.
it's just yeah, and he's just finger guns the whole time. It's not like it the reason I, like, flipped the fuck out was because it's like, usually when there's a supernatural moment in a comic book or whatever, it's like a very tense moment or a very, like, thrilling moment or a magical moment, and this was none of that. It was just like, "Who the fuck is that little weirdo, and why is he in the parade?"
Yeah, where is this going? But then he it sorta gets dropped because he starts talking about it, and he's asking his, like, friend, like, "Did you see it?" And he's, like, saying, like, "I saw it," and but they just kinda like, "Yeah, whatever." They're like,
Right,
"All
they
right,
write him off.
man."
They write him off,
Yeah, they're like, I don't."
and it's uh later in it when they start to realize like what is happening with these missing men and how it's kind of a larger conspiracy, and the town has to stay at a certain size, and when it gets over that, then people start to die, whether it's accidents or whatever, and they realize, oh, the lunch lady is or was it like, I don't know if it was the lunch lady or like one of the teachers is killing these people.
They
And
thought
when
the gym teacher, I think, was
they
killing
thought the gym
people.
teacher was it, and then it wasn't. They,
Yeah.
like, realized at the last minute, "Oh, shit, it's not the gym teacher, it's this other teacher," as she's attacking him. And they describe it like once they realized that something was in play, that this person sounded like, uh, beating wings or a rustle of a flag and smelled like fish and sugar. And this person, this little guy is inside the person. Like the person opens their mouth like super wide, little beady eyes, opens their mouth super wide, and it's the little guy in there, and he's trying to murder them.
I can't believe I didn't realize until now that this, like, of course you love this book so much because I mean, number 1, it is great. Don't get me wrong.
It's
I'm
just
I'm I'm
flat out
there
great.
with you.
Yeah.
but for you specifically, like, this is just hitting right in your, like, little, like, cryptid lover's heart, you
Yeah.
know?
It's these weird little guys. It's this magical world. It's teen detectives. It's
But
like
also and
odd
also it's
small
weird.
town.
Yeah, it's small town it's a small town's, tales, you know?
Mhm.
It's the weird little cryptid you get in, like, some, like, town you've never heard of in New Jersey, and
Right,
it's not a no, it's not
right.
a Jersey Devil, no, 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 it's this
It's a
even
local legend,
stranger yeah.
very niche, like,
Yeah,
thing
yeah.
that exists only here.
Yeah, so that's exactly you. Like, that's like you're like, "Oh?" Like, that's like
Yeah, yeah,
every
right.
point of, like, things that you love are, like,
So
in here.
and they find, like, a weird nest that it's living in the cafeteria, and then there's, like it ends with another nest around town, so there's, like, more of these things
Yeah.
out there
Well,
in the
and
world.
well, and the sheriff deputy who, well, we're in the spoiler territory
Yeah,
now. The sheriff deputy who then becomes the sheriff, um,
yeah,
is like, turns to the kid who when they had to kill the teacher.
right,
The brother who had seen the weird hairy man at the parade is there
right,
too, and he sees him, and the deputy sheriff sees him as well, and
right,
he knows what's going on.
right,
Um, and he was like, "Oh wait, you can see these guys, so you know what's going." And the kid's like, "Wait, so it's like, oh,
right,
now all this is starting to be revealed as like some people can see him, some people can't,
right,
and
and the
we're
people who
not sure
can't
why yet."
there's a moment where, um, the girls and Sam, not the brothers, but the girls and Sam are attacked by dogs, and
Yeah, and Sam's the genius
Sam
kid who he's the new kid in the story
right,
who
and
got
he
dropped
fights
into
off the
this.
dogs as the girls get to safety. Eventually, people help him out. He they, like, lift him to the Founder's Day parade, and he's, like, mangled, like, he's attacked by
Yeah,
dogs,
yeah,
bleeding, and he's like, "Somebody call 911, this kid needs help," and the whole town is just, like, glazed over, just
yep,
expressionless,
yeah,
and I feel like it has to do with this odd, weird world of, like, there's some people who see these things, and then there's some people who are in a fog, and
yeah.
I feel like that's also a very small town thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it kinda reminded me of, I've read a little bit of, Virginia Woolf, and,
Mhm.
I'm reading, I'm sort of trying to read that era now of author, but it also made me this whole story when I was reading it, this whole book, it made me think of, The Lottery by Shirley Jackson. You know, that story
Oh,
that
yeah?
well, they make people read in high school a lot, but do you know The Lottery? Do you know that
No, I don't
story?
know it.
It's a short story by, this wonderful writer of I think she was in the 30s and 40s, Shirley Jackson, where essentially it's a small town, and there's a lottery happening. And somebody, some people won the lottery. They don't want to win the lottery. Like throughout the whole story, people are like, "Oh, the lottery's great. The lottery's great. The
Mhm.
lottery means you're a sacrifice and you're gonna die." You
Huh.
know? And so and
Yeah, yeah,
especially
yeah.
this scene, it made me think that it's like, "Oh, here's something incredibly fucked up happening, but none of the town's reacting." But they're like, "No, no, no, this has to happen, and we've just accepted that this awful thing has to happen." And it's sort of like
Right, right,
in that short story is that most people, except for like, some of the main characters in that short story are like, "Well, yeah, this horrible thing, yeah. Yeah, that's what
right.
do you mean? Yeah, that happens. Yeah,
That
that's
moment
that
where, like, the adults were like, "No, you don't understand, we're the good guys." And
yeah."
it's like, "Oh, well, you're" so there's the Propeller Club that's trying to keep the population down and is murdering people so that these creatures don't murder people.
The Propeller Club is trying to murder people who they at least think deserve it, then
Right, and they're like, "We're the good
before
guys."
yeah,
Yeah.
whereas before it was random. But, like, also, like, when you think about it, you're like, well, I mean, I guess it was better than just random people dying? Like, God,
I
I
guess?
I'm not I don't know, I'm not up on my ethics very I haven't read Spinoza or Kant in a while, so, like, I don't you know But yeah, that was
Man,
also a great, yeah, it was just a great, it's a great book. I hope they find a home. Someone at Image should,
they will. They will.
you
It's
know,
too good. It's too good not
yeah,
to. Everyone should buy it. The second
yeah.
volume expands on the lore of those little guys, and the
Oh,
world
nice. I'm
uh,
excited.
gets even more supernatural, but in really like creative ways. I can't wait for you to read it. I hope we get to talk about the second volume. To be completely honest, because I love this book. Uh,
I'll read it soon.
but
I'll
yeah,
read it soon.
uh,
I'll re
we
Out of Time
should.
Mystery, Case of the Missing Men. Check it out.
You want to talk about some extra stuff?
Yeah, yeah. What do you got?
I finished Fate.
Oh, shit, that's right. Oh, shit, that's right.
So I was talking about Dr. Fate last podcast. It's still very, very good. It ends incredibly. Like it turns into like a JSA 0 hour epilogue, kind of, where like Fate is trying to get the two people who were previously Fate, trying to get them to like essentially get to heaven, and they're trying to like recruit the Spectre to like do this for them as like a favor. And we get to check in with some other JSA members, but also there's another character who's this woman from the Dreadlands who's always in silhouette that like comes to this reality and does not understand things, and it's like total fish out of water jokes the whole way down. Like they go, like she goes shopping at some point and she's like, I do not understand why I need to wear heels, and they're like, could be used as a weapon, and she was like, acceptable, like it's like real ridiculous.
Like
Jason,
like Genghis Khan ripping shit in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure in the sporting
yeah,
section of it. It's just
yeah,
like, yeah.
just totally absurd, extremely fun. Jason, by the end of Fate, I was absolutely on fucking board. And then it said, so at issue, I think it's 22 is the end of it.
Yeah, I was with you on that journey of the beginning of you just like texting me the most insane panels, and then like cut to like a week or so later when you finished it, and just like, no, I loved it actually.
Yeah, I loved it. Nabu, in order to like try to reign this fate that is, so it turns out that like his Cronenberg arm is chaos, and then he is like, so he's like a being of order and chaos, like a mix. And Nabu doesn't like this, so he recovers this like half helm from the explosion of the tower, which is, I guess, another fate relic. I don't really know, but Nabu inhabits a baby, and then the baby is like, I am Nabu, Lord of or Lord of Order, and he like puts the helmet on and he fights Fate. That's so amazing. Good, Jason. That's so amazing. Good.
That's amazing. Is that on the app? I might read just that issue if it's on the app.
Yeah. Just read the end of Fate. It's like the last arc. I think it's the last 3 issues. It's all very good, Jason. I ended up just absolutely loving that whole run. Like, even though the beginning starts out it's like a bit of a slog, if you stick with it, it's like they distill the ideas down to a very workable, very fun like comic book that just like fires on all cylinders. It's everything I want in a comic book. It's just so much fun. So then I read at the end of it, they're like, this continues in Book of Fate. And I was reading on Wikipedia that like this is a soft reset for Fate. So I was like, what are they gonna do?
Yeah, what are they gonna do to my boy?
My poor boy. So Keith Giffen writes it, and Ron Wagner does the art. Ron Wagner is real good, actually, and Keith Giffen is too. Like, the book is objectively better put together than the initial run of Fate.
Always love Keith Giffen. Special shout out to Trencher.
Yeah, hell yeah. So it's objectively a better book. However, it is not nearly as fun. it's because I've read so many superhero comics. It's like I see all the edges that they shaved off. It's a little less wild, a little more structured. You know, one of the things they have like a nice idea in the beginning of it where because this fate is order and chaos together, he has like a run-in with Two-Face that's like actually kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Where because Two-Face is also duality and like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's like it's good, not great. It doesn't ascend to this wild, chaotic energy of like the first run that I just like totally fell in love with. You know what I mean?
I hear you. It's sometimes like, and I actually haven't drank beer in a while, but it's sometimes when like, you know, yeah, you don't always want some like crazy combination flavor of beer as like, it's not like your regular, like I'm just going to pick up a casual 6-pack, but sometimes it's fun to see people. It's like, all right, I'll try this crazy shit. I'll see what's going on with it.
Exactly.
Like why not do something a little different? Go for it.
I'm bringing up this next book because we've talked about it a little bit, but I started reading Azrael, the regular series.
Yeah, because you were interested to see because you couldn't. Yeah, you didn't really. You said you didn't really read much after.
No, I read.
You read Azrael when
I was a kid.
Yeah,
but I didn't really remember any of it,
Mm.
and for good reason, Jason. It is not great.
You can tell why.
It reads very much like things that would capture my imagination when I was 15, but that some things that I had immediately grown out of by the time I went to college. You know what I mean?
Oh
like,
yeah.
By the time I exited college, like these were all ideas that were just kind of, I don't know.
sort of like how the book after Marvel's Onslaught, how Generation X was like really, really cool. And don't get me wrong, I still to this day love Chris Bachalo, love his art so much. Yeah. But as soon as you're a college age, you look back on those, you're like, oh yeah, these books.
Maybe some ideas that were not really great.
I mean, the art's still cool, guys. It's still, looks like. Hey, so look, it's Joe Madrudia drawing. Sorry that I butchered your name, man. I'm sure it's not pronounced that way. I get what you mean.
It was a nice trip down memory lane, but I don't think that it necessarily holds up as much as I wanted it to, because I did kind of get invested into Azrael a little bit. And I think at least the initial arc is written by Denny O'Neil. So I was like pretty stoked on it. And then it was just like a lot of, Bruce Wayne in it is like, hey, I feel sorry about doing you dirty. So here's $200,000 and another Swiss bank account with another $1 million in it. Like, go get your answers for Azrael. It's just like, it's all too convenient. And like, I recovered the mask of Azrael for you. So like, you have your own suit back and here you go. Like, pat you on your butt and put you on a plane. Like, I'm just like, and then he like makes friends with like the first person he meets, and then that's like his bantery sidekick through this thing. And I'm just like, Jason, it's just bad. It's just bad. It's just like, it doesn't work the way that I remember. Like, in my mind, it was a very like gothic Catholic, like sort of avenging angel, like smartly written thing. And then when I actually read it again, I was like, oh, it's just, they're just propping this guy up to like solve all these problems. They're just giving him shit. And then like, he's just in this world and things happen to him and he doesn't really have a whole lot of direction. And I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just like,
it's so disappointing.
Yeah, it was pretty disappointing.
I think especially where like you have such an easy mark with a character like that, because you're like, okay, I still have this mysterious past and I want all these answers. And Bruce Wayne just gave me $1 million, no questions asked. to find them.
Yeah.
I'm going to, by myself, because this is really dangerous, travel the world. And then, holy shit, you have a comic book where in every issue you have a self-contained story and an easy B plot to run through it. And you can also have Azrael show up in different, more famous characters, cities because he's on the look from the Order of Saint Dumas of,
I think one of the things that impacted my ability to enjoy it as well is that it is very much colored as a 90s book where like we just got Photoshop and we pulled the ripcord and we're firing on all cylinders and we're doing everything Photoshop can do. And as a colorist, I'm like, oh no, this era. Like, this isn't even this particular colorist's fault. Like, because everyone was doing this insane shit at this era.
Yeah, it's like that that meme that I mean, this is gonna play real well on the audio medium, but that meme of from the Matrix with Keanu with Neo and Morpheus, and Morpheus turns to Neo turns to Morpheus and goes, I know Photoshop. And Morpheus goes, show me. And it's just immediately the worst Photoshop of like slapped on huge muscles and like lasers everywhere and shit.
I haven't seen that meme.
I should find it. But yeah, no, you're right.
I'll dig it up for the to read pile on YouTube.
I actually do remember. I don't remember what book it was from, but I know it was from that era of X-Men books I just brought up. And I still to this day, this is how bad it was that when I read it in real time, this was my thought then, over 20 years ago. And this is my same thought now. It was some character with like a fire power, and it's supposed to be this big, like, set piece scene. And she's holding her hand out, and there's just like the worst computer generated fireball thing with the bad lighting.
There's a lot of bad fire in this Azrael book, and it's something that like maybe if I wasn't a professional colorist now, like maybe I could kind of tough my way through it, but like for me personally, and maybe your mileage may vary, you're a different person, people who are watching this different person than I am, but like for me personally, it was like reading a book where someone's got like nails on a chalkboard in the background the entire time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you.
Unfortunately, kind of bounced out of that. By the way, the Book of Fate is not on the app. I had to track that down. I sailed the 7 seas in order to find that because I wanted to know if it was worth buying. Like I was looking at some eBay auctions. It's super cheap. It's like $20 to get the run.
Yeah.
But I was like, maybe not. Maybe not for me.
Yeah. There's plenty of other stuff to read,
Plenty of other stuff to read. Exactly.
Can't read everything. I
got to start in on that Starman stuff. You started reading Starman, right?
Yeah, I did. That was actually, if it might get cut, but that was actually my segue to the next to read, because we were talking about collecting. And and the new Starman is essentially a collector. I think you're gonna really like it from the get-go. It's a little
really?
Yeah, I've only read 3 issues. There's a few things that are a little shaky, but it seems to be getting smoothed out like pretty quickly.
Sure.
And I'm already really, I'm like, I knew this book was good. I freaking knew this book was good.
Still holds up.
up. Yeah.
Oh man, I gotta check that out.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll read that. Maybe I'll read Case of the Missing Men 2 or Hobtown Mystery. What's the second one? I forgot what the second one's called already. Oh my god, I'm gonna look it up because I don't
maybe
get it wrong.
you'll just read Hobtown Mystery over and over again until the heat death of the universe and be a happy little boy.
I might. It's that good. The Cursed Hermit is what it's called. Oh man, I remember this one now. It's very good. It's very good. Jason,
Nick.
we should close this out. We've been talking about comics for too long. We've been talking about comics for so long that our podcast app, in order to do this, is like, please stop talking.
Yeah,
like, we're gonna kick you out.
Yeah,
they're like, figure this out.
You've had enough comics. You've had enough comics.
Yes.
You,
if people want to get in touch with you, where can they get in touch with you?
they can get in touch with me on the Twitter machine at King of Black Acid, also at World's Second Finest. That's at Worlds with the number 2 ND Finest on twitter.com. Also, hopefully I'll have it done by the time this episode posts. I don't know or not, but worldsecondfinest.com. I'm going to try to, I have it, you know.
Yeah.
I bought the domain and I bought a host, and I just hadn't gotten enough into the WordPress templates yet to build it. But yeah, worldsecondfinest.com. So hopefully by the time this episode comes out, we'll have a nice little hub that you can go
awesome.
to. And there'll be links to stuff, and we'll have a nice web page like we're a real business from 1998.
Yeah. Maybe then Zencastr will let us record.
Yeah, anyway, maybe there'll be real people.
You can reach me at linktree.com/nickphil. That's like all my links. I'm on Twitter and Instagram, but I've been like kind of realizing that I'm pulling away from both those platforms. Yeah. So if you at me on either place, it might take me a while to respond to you. However, the link for my Discord is in there, and I'm in my Discord daily. So if you do want to reach me on there, Discord's the best bet. And my Discord is a small community of up and coming artists. So it's kind of a neat place to hang out and talk about comics.
Fuck yeah.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah. Thanks as always.